John is playing some interesting cards. As we look down his list, I've just seen him scanning through his deck. He's playing bodybuilding dumbbells as a one-of in his deck. He's got some spice going on here. He does lead off with a Grimer, which is a little bit awkward, especially with its big 3 retreat cost.
Yeah.
Gets himself a Nest Ball early for a Ditto Prism Star. Makes a lot of sense when he has so many evolutions that it could become. And he's just going to use a Cynthia. And again, digging for more basic Pokemon here.
Yeah, it's a little weird to me to not see Isaiah playing Zoroark. He is known for playing Zoroark GX a lot, especially in the expanded format. He's kind of the mastermind of a lot of those like red card based builds where you just kind of try to disrupt your opponent's hand repeatedly. But man, he must think this Jirachi Zapdos deck is real good if he's not playing Zoroark anymore.
And John, he's going to breathe a sigh of relief. He's got himself one Zorua and then a Pokemon Communication.
Ooh.
And we got a turn 1 Let Loose here as well from John.
Here we go.
Especially good when Isaiah hasn't started with one of those precious Jirachis. It's really interesting to see his split is actually 4 Zapdos and he is playing 4 Jirachis. Sorry, he's got some different artwork. Okay, so he is still running the 4 Jirachi, but he just hasn't happened to start with one. So it's extra painful when you don't have that backup for you and you're just getting a low amount of cards from the off here.
Yeah, and this is an interesting matchup because in the previous round, we saw Robin playing the Zapdos with Buzzwole. And Buzzwole is a great counter to all these things that are weak to fighting, such as Zoroark GX. But these straight Zapdos decks can struggle a bit sometimes against Zoroark GX because they can knock you out in in one hit, but they can play Acerola to deny you your 2-hit knockout. But we'll see how this matchup plays out because it looks like John's only playing the one Acerola.
Yeah, and another thing that's also crucial that Robin also played was Zeb Striker, and that gives him a bit of a safeguard against the low and Muck. Yeah. John's got himself turn 1 Grimer and Ditto Prism Star, so the Muck is almost always going to be coming into play if he wants to go for it, especially if this Grimer isn't knocked out. He has a low and Ninetales, which he could turn the Ditto into, maybe get himself lots of Ball Search or a different means of supporter next turn to really pop off with Stage 1 evolutions, where Isaiah is very reliant on Stellar Wish, and Oranguru is his backup rather than Zeb Striker, so it can all be shut down by Muck here.
Absolutely. It seems like John just has a great counter against the field in general, doing it with a lot of one-ofs in his deck. Just tons and tons of single copies of cards, and hey, I mean, if you can counter everything, I guess go for it.
Yeah, and he's playing cards like Mallow to try and pick out those one-offs at the crucial moment. When you're combining it with trade, it makes perfect sense. Ooh. Also, the Alolan Ninetales GX can pull out some key one-offs as well, so he's getting away with these low counts, and Isaiah with an awful turn, not able to move his Zapdos, having to pass it straight back over to John here.
Yeah, so important to note, he could have used Thunderous Assault for 30 damage. He did play Professor Kukui as a supporter card for the turn, but did not want to give his opponent the option to play Acerola because that's one way to pick up that Alolan Grimer, which is currently stuck with a 3 retreat cost. So a heads-up play there from Isaiah. Sometimes you look at it and you go, I might as well do the damage, but sometimes that can backfire because Acerola can pick up damaged Pokemon.
Yeah, showing some good experience there from Isaiah, knowing exactly, as you said, he's the Zoroark master himself. He knows exactly what the opponent can try and do. So John is going to have the headache of maybe using a Guzma this turn if he wants to get any attack off at all. Right now, though, he's just going to grab himself a Zoroark, and he's eyeing up whether or not to put this Alolan Ninetales GX down. He is going to go ahead and use Mysterious Guidance to get him a couple item cards. One of his one-offs is Switch, and that's going to be a pretty good deal right now.
Not bad at all.
He's also got himself Judge.
So if he can find a double colorless energy this turn, I mean, he can switch into his Zoroark GX, and if he can get one more Pokemon down, he can ride his beating for the knockout. And it's kind of tough for Zapdos decks to respond to that, especially the turn 2 knockout from a Zoroark.
John straight away grabbing Nest Ball. He's got the option of potentially Rockruff. He's got another Zorua that he could be putting onto his board as well. That looks to be what he's going for. Just drawing as many cards as possible. I think the key tech card is actually the Muck in this matchup, so if he knows that Isaiah is only playing Zapdos-based builds, he doesn't really need the Lycanroc too much a lot of the time. So you just want to have as many Zoroarks in play as possible so you can hit those double colorless energies, hit those Acerolas, Palpad, these sorts of cards that he also plays 1 copy of Max Potion as well, so he has lots of healing options in his list, and that's what he's going to be digging for now. He has Judge for 4 cards and at least 1 more trade available to him.
You see 1 trade, finds some bodybuilding dumbbells. No double colorless energy yet, but does find a second Zoroark GX, so he can trade 1 more time.
It's interesting that he's playing 1 copy of Professor Elm's Lecture alongside a more heavy Lily build.
And does find a 3rd Zoroark GX, but he just benched that 3rd Zorua, so cannot evolve, did not find double colorless energy, and has to pass the turn.
A 250 hit points Zoroark GX in the active does feel a little bit safe. But it does open up the floodgates for Isaiah to maybe pick off this Alolan Grimer. It would be huge if he was able to this turn.
Yeah, especially with the Ditto Prism Star already evolving. If you haven't kept up with Pokemon lately and you see Alolan Ninetales GX on top of Ditto, that's not a mistake. Ditto Prism Star has that almighty evolution ability, which allows it to evolve into any Stage 1 Pokemon. So might look a little odd, but that is a perfectly legal play.
And among the many, many one-offs that John does play, Nano is not one of them.
Oh, okay.
And that's not going to be a way that he can maybe get a muck out of nowhere. So knocking out this Grimer would be such a huge deal for Isaiah. There's just the Rescue Stretcher, which is, again, if you're just getting more Grimers out there, easy pickings for Zapdos as long as you have your Jirachis online.
Yeah, it does not look like he has Guzma in hand, though, so he's going to have to instruct for 1 card. Can he get it?
Ooh, it's a Thunder Mountain Prism Star. Not too much help there, so he's just going to go for a Cynthia here.
Yep, so that Alolan Grimer is safe. And now you got to be thinking, if you're Isaiah, I need like a switch. Hitting the Zoroark here for 40 damage is not the best. Doesn't even set you up for 2-hit knockouts, really. So you need some way to get your Zapdos to the bench. Otherwise, that Thunderous Assault attack is going to be pretty pathetic.
Exactly. It's such a powerful attack when you are firing on all cylinders, but getting trapped in the active is a real danger for this deck. You need to try and use Stellar Wish not only for the turn, but also to try and set you up for future turns in terms of having backup Guzmas, backup Escape Ropes, backup switch cards, and it might be a little bit awkward for Isaiah here if he's not able to draw into any switches.
Finds an escape board. That won't help. I don't see a switch.
He's also playing Energy Lotto as one of his one-off cards. Really interesting, especially because he doesn't play the Rainbow Energy build. He's just playing 8 Lightning Energies, and he just plays the Energy Lotto as an out from Stellar Wish, which is pretty interesting from him. He's just going to have to settle for the 40 damage here.
Oh, no, that's not what you want to be doing.
There's double colorless energy, and John just waves it in the air. Where were you last turn? But we are going to see him begin the cycle of trades here. He's got himself Pokemon Communication as well, so he's probably going to trade number 2 before putting the 3rd one down into play, because you want to put the 3rd Zoroark into play, but you also want to guarantee a muck down for sure here. He's actually going to calm away the Zoroark here. He had an Ultra Ball available, but he just values that muck so much. I mean, look at Isaiah's board. 2 Jirachis and an Oranguru. It just makes perfect sense that Power of Alchemy is going to be really denying all of Isaiah's draw here.
Yeah, once this Alolan Muck hits the field, it's basically like all those Jirachi and Oranguru are blank cards. They just won't do anything anymore. I mean, sure, technically, I guess you could power up Psychic on Oranguru, but that's not good times. But yeah, it's basically blanking half of the strategy of Isaiah's deck just by getting that 1 Alolan Muck in play.
And here we go, the good old Steady Eddie 120 damage. It's perfect against Isaiah's build, where it's all non-GX. Everything's in range of Zoroark.
Though apparently Zoroark has been working out, getting those dumbbells now. Typically not a card we see on Zoroark GX, but there it is. I guess it does make it harder for like Pikachu and Zekrom GX to knock out Zoroark in one attack. Requires even more Electro powers.
And once again, even though Field Blower is in the format, it feels like it's a forgotten card at this point.
Right.
Everyone's decided to just play more physical stadium cards to deal with Prism Star Stadiums, which are starting to take over the format, and it means that these sorts of niche bodybuilding dumbbells, EXP share, these sorts of cards can get, creep back into the game and get a lot of value under the radar. And John really identifying that this one-of bodybuilding dumbbells is going to make life very difficult for Isaiah.
Sure seems like it. Even the Shrine of Punishment doesn't seem like it's going to do quite enough to get through these bodybuilding dumbbells. Plus 40 HP is just so much. We do see the Thunderous Assault here for 110 damage thanks to the Choice Band. But you got to think if John can find his Acerola here or Max Potion, he can wipe that attack out and have a clean Zoroark GX still with 250 HP.
He's eyeing up Max Potion. I believe he already has a double Colorless Energy in hand as well, so he's not going to be missing a beat at all here. I think the only thing he's digging for at this point is maybe a counter stadium. But it feels like once this Alolan Muck hits the field, it can be so devastating for Zapdos base builds if they don't play, for example, the Zebstrika that we saw Robin using.
Here we see Max Potion healing off all that damage from Zoroark GX. And this is why this matchup can be difficult for these Zapdos decks that are all about getting 2-hit knockouts against Pokemon GX and picking off little things like Zorua early. You're just trying to get ahead a little bit early and then trade off for the rest of the game in prize cards. But when your opponent is playing things like Max Potion and Acerola, it really messes with your strategy. And especially when you can't use Jirachi, which is the main point of your deck.
Yeah, that's your Zoroark, and it's just being denied from you straight away. Isaiah going to be using an escape rope here. John just happy to let him have a Marshadow, just letting him take the single prize.
Yeah, not looking good for Isaiah right here. Going to play yet another Professor Kukui. And points out trying to punishment, but yes, damage counters were already placed.
Yep. We are going to see him. He draws back into that energy lotto. Not going to help him out too much at this moment. Kukui, the damage output isn't relevant. He's just trying to dig deeper into his deck now that his own Jirachis have been shut off by this Alolan Muck. And this is the power of Zoroark. It's now, we've seen Zoro control before. This is a whole new means of Zoroark control. It's similar to Zoroark Garbodor. When everyone's playing the Jirachi base builds, you're just shutting people down. You're getting a huge hand advantage when no one else can play the game.
And we see Isaiah actually didn't even attack there. He passed the turn and decided, you know what, I'm going to make you have a way to switch out your Marshadow. And there we do see the Black Market Prism Star.
Isaiah gives it a read.
It's a very strange but very powerful card. If a Darkness-type Pokemon that has any Darkness energy attached to it is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, they take one fewer prize card. So if it's weird. You would think it works well with Zoroark, but because you're pretty much always putting double colorless energy on Zoroark, the synergy isn't really there. But with things like the one Weavile that John has in his deck, it's very effective.
Yeah, it's strange because the amount of counter stadiums in the format already means that you rarely ever do get a huge amount of value out of it, especially because Guzma can also get around it. And Weavile's already a non-GX trying to skew the prize trade. The only thing is that if the Weavile is swinging for, up to 200 damage, some players just put a huge amount of abilities on the board. It means that if they're gusting around your Weavile, you just have a guaranteed knockout the following turn. So it works best in combination with the Weavile overall, but it's still one of these niche situations where it's going to pay dividends for you. As we see Isaiah, he really is clutching at straws at the moment. Muck having such a powerful impact on this game. We're going to see Guzmaing up the Alolan Muck and a pass here.
You can see the strategy Isaiah's trying to go for. He's just trying to run John out of resources, trying to stick something in the active spot. But you got to think, he's got to have enough Guzma in his deck, right?
Yep, there's still Palpad yet to be played as well. So I think John is not too concerned about this right now.
So now John down to 2 prize cards, just 2 more knockouts between him and winning the first game here. And Isaiah doesn't even have a Guzma. I mean, he has it now, but he's already played his supporter card for the turn.
It's a sad Tapu Koko Prism Star as well, not able to do anything. And man, the Muck is so powerful in this matchup. Yep. He got a lucky break in that he evolved his Ditto Prism Star, and the Grimer was there, easy to pick off. But as soon as it became that Muck, the fate of this game was, pretty much sealed straight out the gate. John continuing to Guzma. Not wanting to spend energy cards, rather throw away the Guzmas because he still has that Palpad waiting in his hand. He's going to be taking another simple prize card here. Isaiah brings up a Jirachi, and it's got to be... Well, he's got one more Guzma to try and buy himself some time.
Bring out that Alolan Muck one more time. But as you said, he's got the Palpad in his hand, and that means he's just going to shuffle 2 Guzma back into his deck, and John's going to win a pretty dominant first game.
Yeah. Isaiah is basically saying, John, please prize Palpad. That's my only hope at this point. He's got to buy himself a lot of turns here. Alolan Muck does have a massive retreat cost, but if you can just use Guzma, it's not going to be a big problem for you.
Indeed. You see how many cards John has in his hand, an absurd amount. And that's all because of that Zoroark GX and its trade ability. Lets you discard a card, draw 2 cards, and when you have 2 or 3 Zoroark GX in play, your hand size just keeps growing every single turn.
And that's exactly, yeah, as soon as you see that Pal Pad, Isaiah is scooping it up. He knows that he has enough bench Pokemon that John can always just Guzma out his muck for those last 2 prizes. He is very, very far behind in a prize race, and John had access to his entire deck, and he's not going to lose in that situation.
Yep, Isaiah's like, he was worth a shot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, John played that game very well. He was able to get that Alolan Muck out at the right time. Isaiah did stumble a little bit in the early goings. Just when you're playing this Zapdos Jirachi deck, you're really trying to attack. You know, if you go first, you're trying to attack turn 2, and then every turn after that, you're trying to play a bunch of Electro Powers, get some knockouts, play a Guzma, knock out a little basic Pokemon on the bench, and just storm out and get ahead as quickly as you can. In that game, I think John actually got the first knockout. I don't think
it was just
Isaiah
let
did
loose.
anything.
Yeah, let loose on a Zapdos. Isaiah unfortunate to not lead a Jirachi.
Yep.
And just meant that his early pressure, the entire emphasis of his deck, wasn't functioning for him. And John going ahead with 3 Zoroarks on his board is just really, really powerful at that point. His Alolan Ninetales helped him get there, of course. Got him a switch as well to start being aggressive. Got himself out of Grimer in the first place. And pretty powerful stuff from him. I think Isaiah does have a bit more comfort now. He's going first, so he's going to have potentially more uses out of Jirachi than he had in Game 1. And John, although he does play Elm and Lily, oftentimes you can't find yourself the Ditto and the Grimer in the same turn. It needs to be a very nice turn with lots of Nest Balls coming down. So there's potentially a way that Isaiah can try and play around a Muck a little bit better this game.
All right, so game number 2 starting, and oh no. Isaiah does have a basic Pokemon in his opening hand, but it is not the basic Pokemon you want to start with in this deck. You do play 1 Pokemon GX in this deck for surprise situations, but oh, look at that, Alolan Muck
wow,
in the prize
and the
cards.
Grimer.
And
wow.
Isaiah starting off with his 1 Tapu Koko GX. I can say I've been here many times.
And John is playing Professor Kukui as well, so you can do sorts of Lycanroc, bring up Bloodthirsty Eyes, and even knock out the Tapu Koko GX all in one hit. So that's a real problem for him. It's essentially a Tapu Lele in this situation.
Yeah, and it's very annoying because part of the strategy of your deck is to put out Shrine of Punishment and slowly wear down all those Pokemon GX on your opponent's side, but when you have your 1 Tapu Koko as your starting Pokemon, it also damages your own Tapu Koko GX, and it makes it an easy knockout for things like Zoroark later on.
But nonetheless, he has kicked off with a couple Nest Balls. He has an early switch to at least get his first Jirachi into play, and he can Lily for 6 cards pre-Stellar Wish here. So other than that GX Pokemon that he's unfortunately led with, it's not the worst of starts.
Yeah, I mean,
lots of escape boards.
Yeah, I mean, outside of starting with the worst starter Pokemon in your deck, this has been a great hand so far for him. I mean, you get Jirachi active, you play Lily for a bunch of cards, you get his Zapdos down with an energy. I mean, not much more you can ask for with this deck.
And you could see there would be no debate here if he hadn't led Tapu Koko GX. He would just be trying to get that Shrine of Punishment down straight away, I would imagine.
Probably,
Instead, he's just going to hold on to Electro Power and shuffle back in that Shrine of Punishment. And he's got himself in good stead. He's got skateboards for next turn. He's got supporters for next turn. And, you know, John can't evolve up any of his basics. So Isaiah's like guaranteed to take at least 1 prize card next turn. And the only thing is he doesn't currently have anything like Guzma, so he can't target down Dittos or Grimers, which he would normally think is priority 1, not knowing John's prize cards. So that's something he's going to be digging for next turn. But it seems like he's just going to hand it over to John here.
Yep, so after that Stellar Wish, Isaiah is going to pass the turn. We'll have to see if Jirachi wakes up. Not entirely relevant, but we will see John actually go for Guzma on the Tapu Koko GX.
His hand isn't going anywhere.
He can corner and try to... Well, never mind. This game's over. Yes, you can escape rope as long as at least one player has a benched Pokemon.
Yes, you can.
And in this situation, it is basically a switch. And just like that, turn 2, Zapdos takes out Rockruff, and we're heading to Game 3.
John already, he lost to something completely different from the Muck, but he just wanted to show everyone that those were the prize cards. Maybe he was saying, I probably may not have won this game anyway, because Muck is such a big factor to deny Isaiah his own strategy. The bodybuilding dumbbells is also a card that can help John keep Isaiah out of range for large periods of this game, so he's fairly heavily teched for the Zapdos matchup, it seems.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense. It's the deck that a lot of the top players from the U.S. brought to this tournament. And of course, we even saw Robin Schultz playing a very similar deck, albeit with that Buzzwole tech as well. So that was about as quick of a Game 2 as we could get. We are heading into Game number 3. Hopefully we'll see a better one here. We've seen 2 pretty one-sided matches so far, and hopefully the third game we'll get to see what both decks can do.
Yep, and John now, with the advantage of being an evolution deck, getting to go first is even bigger for him.
Yep.
Zapdos doesn't mind going second because it can, in theory, start putting the pressure on. But John now has the option to try and have a better supporter and get into more basics than just the Rockruff using corner.
And you see both these players are in a great mood. We see them laughing and joking with each other the whole time. You got to think that they've played each other plenty of times. Probably pretty good friends at this point. And we will see.
John's body language is so funny. So funny to see. He's very heart on your sleeve compared to many other players.
Right, yeah.
He's just almost sulky with just one mulligan. Yeah. Even when you're just in this situation, you're 5-0 in a tournament, feeling good about yourself all day, and he's still just head-slapping moments whenever something doesn't go quite his way. He's had to lead the Grimer again, which you can see on his face he's not happy with straight away.
Yeah. And Isaiah Williams actually is a pretty interesting story. I remember probably 5 or 6 years ago, he was in the finals of the U.S. National Championships in the senior division. And after a while, he kind of disappeared. And then about a year or two ago, he came back onto the scene and started doing very well at expanded tournaments with different Zoroark GX builds. And ever since then, he's been showing up to tournaments and putting up great results, picking up exactly where he left off.
John gets himself an Ultra Ball. That's more than likely going to be a Tapu Lele GX, unless he already has a decent supporter. If we could see a face cam, we'd see him not happy the fact that he's priced himself a Ditto Prism Star this time. Yeah. So that's pretty awkward for him. The deck is so dominant when the Muck is in play, but if Muck's not in play, Isaiah's got to be feeling good about this. So John's had some awkward prize cards. He's going to have to wonder tag on turn 1 here. He's eyeing up Professor Elm's Lecture, it looks like, over a Lily. He just wants to guarantee some basics, it looks like. And that's what's cool about John's list. Some people, they have the Team Elm and Team Lily debate. John's saying, well, sometimes my hand's good enough where I can guarantee basics and that's enough for me. Sometimes I just need to Lily and get myself extra, turn 1 attachments or whatever else he needs. So it gives him a bit of a halfway house to play the hands as he sees them.
Yeah, it can also be a matchup-dependent thing, too. Mm-hmm. Like in this matchup, you don't really need to get an energy attachment on the first turn.
Right.
You're attacking with Zoroark most of the time. Against like a Pikachu and Zekrom variant, you really need to get an energy on your Rockruff on the first turn. So you can't always afford to play Elm. Sometimes you need to just go for Lily and hope you get the Rockruff and the energy, because if you don't, that thing's going to run you over real fast.
Isaiah already has Zapdos, Choice Band, Energy, double Electro Power.
Just dumping it. He knows how important it is to knock out this Grimer.
He's digging for Switch Card. He's already seen it, and there's also the Escape Board as well. So
he's gotten it already.
This is huge. He just wanted to draw as many cards as possible. This is going to be huge for Isaiah here. He's got the luxury of using this Jirachi as well for Stellar Wish.
Even finds a Nest Ball, so you can find an additional basic Pokemon here.
Don't see why not. He could get himself even more Jirachis if he wants to, or some backup Zapdos. He's already holding on to Rescue Stretcher, so he's got plenty of options here.
And we see that Oranguru also in his top 5 cards. He could Nest Ball for that if he wants to. That's an interesting card we haven't seen in all of the Zapdos Jirachi decks. You would think Jirachi's enough, but sometimes it's nice to have extra insurance against Let Loose. Being able to, let's say if you start with Zapdos and then your opponent uses Mars Shadow to let loose on the first turn. Sometimes it's nice just being able to go, okay, Nest Ball for Oranguru, play out my hand, and then Instruct for 3 cards. It just gives you another option.
Yeah, it's normally like a 1 or 2 cards a game, but it's on those critical turns where you're really low on supply and you just need to get that little refresh. You can do it even before you use a Stellar Wish, and you're more informed in your decision because you've seen more cards at that point in the game. So it's a nice little supplementary one-of that you may as well be playing in a deck when you have so many spaces in this list. Because you're just basics and you have a low amount of energy cards as well physically in the list, you can just try and be even more consistent. Why not?
And we do see Isaiah playing Switch into the second Jirachi, so he can use yet another Stellar Wish, and puts the Escape board on the active one. You see the nice 2-card combo there. Stellar Wish, you can look at top 5 cards, grab a trainer card, but it does leave Jirachi asleep. When you put on the Escape board, it can magically fly away while it is asleep, and also reduces its retreat cost by 1. So the cards work very well together, and it's kind of a cool combo because the cards were released about a year apart. You saw a skateboard in the Sun and Moon Ultra Prism expansion, and now we see Jirachi in Team Up.
Yeah, skateboard was always in the shadow of Floatstone, and finally now we see the skateboard being sometimes a 3 or 4 of index.
Yep.
Isaiah with a huge sigh of relief that John in the awkward spot of not only starting Grimer, but also prizing Ditto, 2 very awkward things, and it allows Isaiah straight into this game here. Shrine already putting damage onto Tapu Lele GX is also another headache for John to start navigating around. At the very least, he's got himself Zoroark and double Colorless Energy ready to go. He's picked up a Cynthia as well.
Yeah, he's got an Ultra Ball. He could trade away the Lycanroc GX, draw 2 cards to allow him to play the Ultra Ball, and then Cynthia for 6 cards. The question is he going to draw into things like, I don't know, if you trade into 2 double Colorless Energy, then you're like, well, threw away a Lycanroc for no reason.
And he plays so many one-offs as well. Like, you never really want to trade into one-offs because... Yeah. Especially if they're the one-off trainer cards, you won't be able to get access to them again. So he's going to forego the trade into Ultra Ball because he's basically just trading into cards that he doesn't know what they will be, and they'll always be committed to the bin. So instead, he's just going to Cynthia and see 6 fresh cards and hope to trade beyond that.
Although it is tough. I mean, if he doesn't find 2 basic Pokemon, he won't be able to knock out Zapdos. But looks like the gamble has paid off. He does find a Nest Ball, and I believe another Zorua in hand. So not a bad start here.
We're going to see John scouting, grabbing himself a Alolan Vulpix with this Nest Ball is what he's eyeing up by the looks of things. This is another card that can put a good shift in sometimes. He's, of course, playing Unit Energies. It works on all 3 of his tech Pokemon. He has the Dark part with Unit Energy for Weavile, the Fighting part for his Lycanroc, and the Fairy parts for his Alolan Ninetales. So they can all chip in at times, and hitting 70 is really decent when there's Jirachis around.
Those Unit Energy are reminiscent of the old Blend Energy, which used to hit 4 different types. But the introduction of the Fairy type basic energy threw the 4 and 4 split all out of whack, so now we have 3 different unit energy.
And surprisingly, it seems like the ones that have the units that only have 3 types, they've seen way more play than the Blends ever did, which is surprising.
So now John was able to get the knockout on that Zapdos with Riotous Beating. Does 120 damage since he has 6 Pokemon in play. An attack we've been seeing pretty much every tournament since Zoroark GX has been legal. And now it's up to Isaiah to respond. This is a situation he's probably okay with. There's no threat of Alolan Muck from his opponent's side, so he is free to use Jirachi. He's free to use that Instruct ability on Oranguru, and of course even that Tapu Koko Prism Star, Dance of the Ancients if he needs to.
He's got his Energy Lotto right now. He genuinely needs it to hit because he has no energy in his hand. Oh, that's so sad for him. He plays the card just for these moments, and he is unfortunately whiffing on energy. It may force him to use his Tapu Koko Prism Star a little early this game, which would be a little bit awkward for him, but he has his choices. He could just be taking out more single prize knockouts this turn, deny the amount of Zoroarks John can put on the board, which I personally quite like the look of this turn. Or he could start trying to put pressure on the Zoroark in the active. The thing you always have to expect, if you're hitting into a Zoroark, you have to expect heal to come down, especially if there's an Alolan Vulpix on the board. He's already seen Max Potion in Game 1. It's so likely that John will be able to heal, so Guzma has to be Isaiah's priority here.
Absolutely. And yeah, you have the Energy Lotto, and mean, you might think there's got to be a better card to search for a basic energy card in this format, right? But no, Professor's Letter is gone.
Yeah.
Even the very basic energy search has disappeared from the standard format. Energy Lotto is the best thing we have, and as you can see, it's not always very reliable.
So choosing to pick off an Alolan Vulpix here over a Zorua, identifying the power of grabbing some key item cards. And of course, there's multiple Zorua anyway, so you're never going to deny all the Zoroarks from John. I guess taking away options in general is a pretty decent out here. He's also able to Ultra Ball, and he's got one more Stellar Wish available to him as well, before having to maybe use his Tapu Koko Prism Star and take one more prize with Thunderous Assault here.
Yeah, you're just trying to take a prize card every turn with this deck. Trying to Guzma as much as you can.
Wow, look at this, Oranguru coming in.
Nice, yeah. Who needs Energy Lotto?
Just hit 2 off Oranguru, no problem.
Yeah, you're trying to Guzma as often as you can, play a bunch of escape ropes, try to force your opponent to feed you small, basic Pokemon that you can knock out with Zapdos' Thunderous Assault, and then at some point, try to pick up a big knockout, whether that's through a bunch of Electro Powers, whether that's through Tapu Koko GX, which can come in for a big attack at some point. You do usually need to find one big knockout on a GX to close out a game.
So I had a pretty interesting choice there. He was faced with his last Stellar Wish, and he chose to take a second Shrine of Punishment over something like a Cynthia. He's left himself with 3 cards in his hand, an Energy, a Nest Ball, and a Shrine of Punishment. Instead, he's just saying, well, Jirachi will probably get me the rest of the way if Zapdos is knocked out this turn. You can see John go for a Mallow here. Such a great combination alongside Trade. Straight away, the first thing he's eyeing up is the Rescue Stretcher. He wants to try and get Grimer.
And the bodybuilding dumbbells.
Yeah, what else would it be at this point? It's a pretty reasonable Mallow. You could also, I think, the fact that he's seen a second Shrine in Isaiah's hand now, shown off by the Stellar Wish, there's no point in him really going for a Counter Stadium in this moment. Yeah. It'll give him a reprieve for 1 damage, but that's not all that important. We're going to see the trade away of 1 Unit Energy. Rescue straight away. Give me that Grimer. Dumbbells to the active. So John is going to be able to take a knockout with Righteous Beating here, but as we say, Isaiah's been able to build his hand way more than last game, just because there's no Muck hitting the field just yet.
And you do see the damage counters ticking up on that benched Tapu Lele GX. And that could be the 1 GX knockout that Isaiah needs at some point. And John, he's limited himself to just 2 Pokemon GX in play at a time, so that Shrine of Punishment isn't doing as much as it could be doing. But if Isaiah can continue to dig into those Guzma, continue to pick off those little Pokemon, particularly Alolan Grimer this turn, he can put himself in a position where, if he gets down to 2 prize cards, he could come in for that last big knockout. And he doesn't really play any Pokemon GX besides the 1 Tapu Koko, and he doesn't need to use GXs to win. So John's going to be limited to 1 prize card a turn.
Here's the big Stellar Wish. Is it going to be a Guzma? That's what we're after here. Electropower Professor Kukui. Not quite what he's after.
Just find Escape Rope so he could, he's already got one in his hand, but yeah, he could Escape Rope, send out another Jirachi.
Yep, second bite of the cherry is never too bad. He is going to grab that Professor Kukui. It's always nice to threaten these things for John as well. It could give him a more difficult decision when he does see this Escape Rope that I have to imagine is coming down this turn. It's telling John, well, I'm at least getting 100 from Zapdos. I'm just 1 Electropower away from your Tapu Lele now. So it's putting a bit of pressure on John. It may just force John to just straight up put a non-GX up in the active for him. And that's what he's going to do here, recognizing it's quite easy with a Kukui now for the Lele to be in range. So nice play again from Isaiah.
Yeah, oh, he does find 2 Guzma.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right, well, looks like he can take out that Alolan Grimer once again before it can evolve into Alolan Mach. There's no power of alchemy here. And it's just going to be up to John to fight off all these Zapdos with what he's got. He can't stop Isaiah from using Jirachi. And, every time he uses Stellar Wish, that's more and more things like Kukui and Electro Power he can stockpile in his hand.
Very, very nice Jirachi there. Stellar Wishing at the perfect time. You can see, yeah, John just making sure that the Kukui was off the Stellar Wish and not played this turn.
Yeah.
So we're going to see the Guzma grabbing that Alolan Grimer. Once again, John only plays one copy of Rescue Stretcher, so now it's only down to bringing out Ditto Prism Star from prize cards if we're ever going to see an Alolan Muck now. But it all feels a little bit late to the party as this Tapu Lele is getting into really awkward shape. Even his bodybuilding dumbbells Zoroark is starting to get chipped away at as well, thanks to the Shrine of Punishment that stayed in play the entire game, really doing a lot of work for Isaiah.
Yeah, John does finally have his Black Market Prism Star, so he can get rid of that one Shrine of Punishment if he wants to. He might be waiting to play it and then play something like Judge to try to prevent Isaiah from having another Shrine of Punishment in hand, but he is Ultra Balling and looking for Lycanroc GX. He may be wanting to target down one of those benched Pokemon. Joe, I mean, is there anything better than just knocking out his Zapdos here?
It's
Do you
strange.
go for a Jirachi or a Tapu Koko Prism Star?
I'm really not sure. I mean, Isaiah has a nice board developed, to be honest.
Right.
It takes so little for a Zapdos to just keep attacking turn by turn. His list is very simple. I'm just going to hit 80 every turn and build up Electro Powers and all that stuff. He's got 2 Jirachis with escape boards. He's got an Oranguru. He's got Tapu Koko. There's nothing really that can harm him. So John putting more GXs onto the board, trying to deny the amount of Stellar Wishing Isaiah can come up with. But that's all we're going to be seeing here. Looks like he's eyeing up Cynthia as well this turn.
Yeah, and I think if you're John, it's kind of important this turn to evolve all of your small basic Pokemon. Mm-hmm. So he's already gotten the Lycanroc GX. If he can evolve both of those Zorua into Zoroark GX, it takes away an easy Guzma target for Isaiah to get one more prize card and go down to 2. So if he can...
Oh, wow. He traded away an Ultra Ball and never found himself a Pokemon Communication.
That's why.
Yeah, sure. Sure, that's...
Yeah, I mean, if he can evolve all of his Pokemon, I mean, what's Isaiah's path to victory here? He doesn't have an easy Pokemon to pick off. Mm-hmm. He's going to have to go through 2 GXs to win.
Yeah. Tapu Lele, 120. It's a lot more than 60, at the very least.
And, of course, he does play that Max Potion. He does play Acerola, so it is possible to deny prize cards here. Trade
number 2, Pokemon Communication in John's hand, putting in another Lycanroc GX, and he's going to go ahead and find himself that final Zoroark and evolve up. As you say, Kyle, he's going to be forcing a 7-prize game out of Isaiah at the very least. And there's still healing options for John as well.
Yeah, and since he brought out Jirachi, he doesn't even have to bench a 5th Pokemon to get the knockout here.
Going to see that final trade, getting rid of Choice Band. He's drawn into Tapu Lele GX as well, which may be reliable for him for the future turns. But it feels right now he doesn't need the damage. He really should not be looking at Rockruff coming down this turn. It feels very risky.
Indeed. So we do see Riot is beating for the knockout. John now down to 3 prize cards. The game is tied. Isaiah will get the next chance to attack. But can he knock anything out?
I think Isaiah using early Electro Powers as well, just for his early Lily. That might actually be a haunting moment in this game. He had to do it just for early tempo with Lily. You can't judge him for that, but it does hurt this late game progression now that John has fully evolved up.
Well, he does find Guzma off of this Stellar Wish. This could be a turn where it might be a little risky, but you could drop your Tapu Koko GX down. Use that Tapu Koko Prism Star ability to get some extra energy in play. Use Tapu Koko GX, Arrow Trail, and then Guzma out the Tapu Lele GX. Get the 2 prize card knockout while your opponent is unable to find Max Potion or Acerola. And go down to 1 prize. Yeah, it's risky. You put a GX on the board and your opponent might play Professor Kukui or something like that and knock it out in 1 hit, but I don't know. What's your other plan here?
Yeah, I think that's got to be the only thing. Especially, he's just running so low on Choice Bands and Electro Powers. He's got to let the Tapu Koko GX get in the game at some point. It's just whether he pulls the trigger on this turn or not. But
and whether or not he's able to.
Yeah.
Currently, his hand is not supported currently.
We see the Escape Rope as his next move.
All right, John trying to figure out which Pokemon to send out here.
A Shrine of Punishment pushes Lycanroc GX into 190, so it's potentially a little bit easier, but still way out of Isaiah's range at the moment. So he's fairly content to let this come up. Isaiah now seeing what he's going to bring up.
Looks like Zapdos will be the choice here. And yeah, knocking out that one Jirachi took away Isaiah's potential option to Stellar Wish a second time. Could end up being the difference in this game. He's going to have to settle for just Thunderous Assault. He's going to play one Professor Kukui to hit for 100 damage instead of 80, which could be relevant.
Pushes him into a fairly easy 2-hit KO if John doesn't have the heal option. So it does make sense to get use out of Professor Kukui now. 110 damage thanks to Shrine of Punishment ticks. Damage still continuing to rack up on the bench now for John. He's one stadium down.
Damage slowly piling up, but will it matter? Will the game be over before that actually comes into effect?
Feels like John is really knocking on the door. He's done so well to stay in this game without Muck, which is your plan A in this matchup. You saw how dominant his game 1 was against Isaiah just because Muck hit the field. But now John needs to use his trades to find himself some max potions, some Ace of Rollers to keep up here. The biggest downside for him is if he needs to keep using Righteous Beating, he may eventually need to bench more things, which is going to be real easy targets for Isaiah once again.
See the third trade, and I do not see a way to move that Lycanroc GX. He's going to have to Wonder Tag and go for Acerola or Guzma here. Probably Acerola if it's in there. But as you said, he has to get to 110 damage to knock out the Zapdos, so he's going to have to play down one of those smaller Pokemon, perhaps that Rockruff again, and that gives Isaiah a target for Guzma so that he can knock it out with Zapdos.
And we've seen John, he's played the Black Market Prism Star. Typically, in previous renditions of Zoroark, you would see something like Devoured Field, and that would be a great solution for his problem right now. But that's not available to him because of his tech choice of the Black Market Prism Star. His damage isn't going to quite get there unless he's forced to put down his own fragile non-GX Pokemon once again. We're going to see him continue to use Pokemon Communication now. No other basic available other than Sneasel. I mean, it could threaten, maybe it could deny a Tapu Koko GX hitting the field, really. It would be a big deterrent for Isaiah, but that's really about it.
Yeah, he was trying to see if there's anything that could survive a Zapdos attack. But no, both Tapu Lele GX are on the bench already. He's got to put down a low HP Pokemon. And this could be the difference maker in the game. Isaiah will need to find Guzma. He will have access to Jirachi's Stellar Wish. And he does have Guzma in hand already, so he can go down to 2 prize cards. Can he close the game out, though?
This is looking pretty good for John. I believe he still has his Max Potion available to him, though. So this Lele, which has been hit so heavily with Shrine throughout the entire game, if Isaiah does take the one Rockruff knockout and John still responds with a Max Potion, once again he feels in a fairly decent spot. He's also got Palpad currently in the hand to reuse an Ace of Roller, and his deck size once again is pretty thin. He's had the benefit of getting all 3 Zoroarks out this game once again, and it's meant that he's got just a ton of options for him at the moment.
So Isaiah looking at his top 5 cards, he sees a Choice Band. It seems like he'll probably need that at some point to close out a GX somewhere. And looks like, yeah, he's going to take the Choice Band. Currently his hand is not the greatest. He's really relying on every single Stellar Wish from this Jirachi. He's only got 1 in play. His hand size is just big enough so that Oranguru's Instruct is not helping him out. But you got to think he's going to be going for Guzma this turn.
Yep.
He could knock out Tapu Lele GX, go down to 1 prize card, but it seems to make a lot more sense to go after Rockruff and then try to finish off a GX in the next turn using Choice Band and whatever Electro powers you have left.
Especially because John has been very disciplined the entire game at not attaching any excess energy cards.
Yes.
He knows that Tapu Koko GX is just so likely to be Isaiah's easy finish if you let him just have that option available. So John's only ever had a double colorless in play for the entire game, so he knows this matchup inside and out for sure.
Yeah, it's been excellent play from both sides.
He's definitely found a way to make this close despite the Muck not being a real factor here. Isaiah clutching to see how many resources he has available and if it's going to be enough to help push through in these final turns. John trying to hold on and use heals to just buy himself 1 extra turn to keep up with Isaiah here.
You can see Isaiah putting down the Choice Band, trying to make himself immune to Marshadow's Let Loose, which he probably thinks is coming next turn. John will probably try to find Max Potion and then let loose in the same turn. You see Isaiah putting down as many cards as he can, or playing down as many cards as he can, plays a switch
instruct.
Just so he can instruct for one and get the switch out of his deck. Going to 2 prize cards, but oh no, the Guzma's in there.
Oh, wow. That's insane. This is going to be a big turn for John.
It's going to be a close finish.
This is really
Shrine of
coming down to
Punishment
it.
ticks up 10 more damage on all of those Pokemon GX on the bench.
Tapu Lele looking so fragile here. John definitely going to have to try and find Acerola or Max Potion.
There is Acerola being shuffled back into the deck.
Also going to grab himself Mallow. That's an extra out just because Max Potion's still in there for him. So 2 extra live outs into his deck now for healing of Tapu Lele GX.
Yeah, unfortunately for John, the Tapu Lele with 20 damage on it is going to be in range for Tapu Koko GX no matter what. Sky High Claws can get to 130 damage, so even if he can heal one Tapu Lele, the other one is still in danger, but it will force his opponent to have extra cards.
Yes, and I mean, potentially he could hit
Draws Max
Potion and Acerola and do both and then put down the Lele again.
Yeah, that's a potential option.
That's maybe the best line here.
Oh, even then, the active Zoroark GX.
Yeah, everything's getting in range.
It's going to have damage on it from Shrine of Punishment. Even with the dumbbells, it'll have 90 damage, so even that is not safe.
Wow. Shrine of Punishment has put in so much work. John just playing 1 Counter Stadium has been a real problem for him in this game.
And you can see the wheels turning for John. He's got Max Potion. He's going to go ahead and play that on the Tapu Lele GX. That seems like the best thing to do because it takes away the simple energy.
Okay, so he's going to be retreating out of this Zoroark, you've got to think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see Choice Band as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to see... this game is going to end like the first game began with a let loose. And John is just going to hope that Isaiah does not find the cards he needs off of these 4 cards from Marshadow.
He's kept the double colorless energy on his Zoroark, which is a big problem. It gives Isaiah very simple outs to win.
That could be a devastating third and fourth energy to have in play for the Tapu Thunder GX.
That's a real last-minute oversight for John.
Certainly could be. John has played this match perfectly so far, but this could perhaps be one blunder that loses him the match. But here we go. Marshadow let loose. Isaiah did everything he could to prepare for it, playing out as many cards as he could, played the Choice Band, played a switch for basically no reason, just because these were not cards he wanted to draw when his opponent played Marshadow for let loose. So this has been excellently played from both sides. You see exactly why these players are both 5-0, and looks like we are going to have a winner here. Somebody is going to win this match, but who is it going to be? Can Isaiah draw the cards he needs, or will John barely hang on and close this out?
It's peak Orangaroo hour as well. When you're getting let loose down to 4 cards, you typically have a couple of playables to instruct first. And he has got a few playables already.
Sure does.
Lily can help him out as well. If he doesn't need at the moment he does not need Guzma to win with 4 energies on John's board.
All right, John, going to look through discard pile once more. I'm not sure if Isaiah discarded Tapu Koko GX at some point. Maybe that's why John doesn't care about having it, but he does play Rescue Stretcher.
Yeah.
So he could possibly get it back.
The threat is always there. The threat is definitely always there from Isaiah. And, 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher in his list.
Oh, he actually retreats.
That's going to be the retreat. Okay.
Okay. So here we go. Riotous beating for the knockout. John Eng down to 1 prize card. And now it's up to Isaiah Williams. Can he find a way to knock out a Pokemon GX on this turn? If he can't, John will easily attack with Zoroark GX one more time, close out this game, and win an excellent match. But let's go. Can Isaiah find something?
Draws into a second lightning energy, which is
not
one of the only non-playables. Yeah. Isaiah doing some maths. A hot take right now. Shrine of Punishment ticking over. How many electro powers does he have access to?
Yeah,
remaining?
so after the Shrine of Punishment and the dumbbells, Zoroark GX will have 160 remaining HP. He'll have 90. It has 250 right now, so I think 160 will be what it has left, which means if you get Tapu Koko GX plus an Electro Power or Choice Band.
He has exactly Electro Power as his one out.
All right. Yeah, you can get to 160 damage and exactly win the game between turns with the Shrine of Punishment. So this game could come down to exactly 10 damage. He's got Lily in hand. He's got an energy he can play. He's got that Tapu Koko Prism Star to get extra lightning energy out so he can arrow trail with Tapu Koko GX.
His deck is pretty thin.
Play down Absol. He can play in energy and instruct for one card. Does he find?
It's going to be
Thunder
Mountain, which is unplayable.
That's
we
a
need
bad draw.
We need that.
We need the Shrine of Punishment. Yeah. Okay, Stellar Wish. He finds a Cynthia.
And a Switch as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Cynthia
pretty sure you
feels
take
stronger.
Yeah, you take Cynthia. You do have Lily in hand already, but boy, none of these cards help you. And got to think drawing 6 cards off of Cynthia is going to be better than drawing 3 or maybe 4 off of Lily.
Yeah, for sure. He would love to just pick out that Tapu Koko GX right now.
Yeah, if this were the original Jirachi, you could take any 5 cards, any of the 5 cards, and
he's going to grab Switch here.
All right,
maybe he's hoping he can grab like Ultra Ball and lower his hand size again for Lily. Something like that would be his best. Like that's his best search now with a second Stellar Wish.
Because Tapu Koko GX has Arrow Trail, this does let you Stellar Wish one more time.
Yes.
So you can switch into Jirachi and then play the Lily probably first. Although it depends. I mean, if you want to.
He's going to Stellar Wish first.
This is close.
This is strange.
Oh, he finds Electro Power.
Electro Power is big.
Got to take that.
Yes, yes.
All right, here it is. Electro Power, and he'll have a Lily for 4 cards?
I believe it's 4. He can proactively play the Switch, knowing that he can just use Aero Trail again. At the moment, it's Lightning Energy, and I believe it may only be one other card in his hand.
Right.
So it's a 5-card dig to find exactly Ultra Ball or Tapu Koko. Oh, he has the Thunder Mountain as well.
Yeah, he can't play that though.
Yeah, it's an unplayable. So it's a 4-card dig for Ball Search card or Tapu Koko GX.
There is Electro Power.
He's got to do some quick maths. Please don't play that down.
All right, so he's done.
1 Electro Power, yes.
That's 140, 150. No. That won't be quite enough. Oh, he plays down the Thunder Mountain Prism Star. Plays the Switch into Zapdos. I don't think that's enough.
Doesn't feel like enough. Let's see.
Unless he's got one more. He does have another Electro Power.
Wow.
He draws the second Electro Power, and that's going to be
that's incredible.
Isaiah Williams takes the match. What an incredible win, finding that final Electro Power. And you could see he was playing with the Tapu Koko GX as well.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible win from Isaiah Williams. Pulling it out.